Welcome back to LifeGroups. We are having conversations in this season about our decisions. We know the importance of decisions in our lives. Better decisions lead to lives with quality and a sense of direction and purpose. And we're talking about the frameworks through which we make decisions. And we've said that good questions can set us up for good decisions, and you need good people, a good community, a life group to ask good questions with. And the question that we're considering today is, what story do I want my life to tell? It's a question of legacy. Every year when we would go to my grandfather's house for Thanksgiving or Christmas, he would tell us the same stories. And one of the stories that he would always tell the grandkids was a story of Samuel McAlilly. The McAlilly family came to Mississippi from South Carolina, and Samuel lived in the late 19th century. And he was actually a legislator in the Senate of South Carolina when South Carolina was considering seceding from the United States of America. The way the story was told by my grandfather is that Samuel McAlilly came to that vote prepared to vote against the secession. You know what happened. The history books will tell you that in that particular vote, everybody in the room, except for Samuel McAlilly, voted for South Carolina to secede from the Union. If you go to Chester, South Carolina, where he's born, you can find the records of the account and the will of this guy. And what you find when digging into the Civil War history is that on that particular day, what the Senate decided to do is that they sent Samuel McAlilly home on his horse, and they took a second vote. And the second vote was a unanimous vote. And that's what was sent to the local papers, and that became the national headline. Unanimous vote, South Carolina secedes from the Union. Now, my grandfather told that story because he wanted to emphasize a particular legacy. He would always say at the end, and McAlillys have always been community builders, which was the story that he wanted to tell about his life. Now, the stories that we tell, they impact our decisions, and our decisions impact the stories that we end up telling. They end up impacting our legacy. And we want to think a little bit more about that today in our own lives. Can you think back to decisions at particular turning points in your life that made an impact in the story that you can tell about your life? One of the aspects of being a pastor is that we do a lot of funerals, and we're there at the end. We have the privilege of hearing the stories that people tell about their loved ones in the wake of death. And we have the privilege and honor and responsibility of telling some of those stories in the context of a memorial ceremony or a funeral. And I'm very aware in those moments of how the decisions that we make impact the story that we can tell about our life. They impact our legacy. Now, in the scripture, we have story after story of people making consequential decisions that impact their legacy. One of them is in Genesis chapter 39, where Joseph, who was the brother that was sold into slavery, is now in Egypt, and he's being confronted and seduced by Potiphar's wife. And over the course of the story, it appears that he's tempted to respond. But at the end of the day, Joseph doesn't respond. He avoids the temptation, and he ends up becoming this great man of wealth and influence and power and status within the Egyptian regime. And he's able ultimately to be a person who offers redemption and restoration for his family. That becomes the story that he could tell about his life. Sometimes the decisions we make, the impactful decisions, the turning points, are things that we decide not to do. Sometimes they're things that we decide to do. And I bet you can think of areas of your life where you've made those kind of consequential and impactful decisions. What are some of the decisions that you're facing right now that you think will impact the next 5 or 10 years of your life, that will impact not only your own life, but the lives of your family and those in your community and those around you? What's a decision that you're currently trying to make that will impact the story that you will tell of your life, that others will tell about you, that will impact your legacy? It's a good opportunity to be in conversation about it. It's also an opportunity for us to tell some of the stories of the times when we've narrowly escaped tragedy or catastrophe by making a good choice. I hope that the conversation is rich and meaningful, so that you can help one another tell a good story and have a great legacy because you made better decisions with fewer regrets.